Continued efforts to arrange travel to Russia to advance the deal. On December 17, 2015, Putin made positive public comments about Trump. Cohen forwarded news alerts of press articles that relayed that Putin had called Trump talented and very colorful to Sater. In the body of the email to Sater, Cohen stated, quote, "Now is the time. Call me," close quote. In response to Cohen's email, Sater again worked to schedule a trip, this time asking for passport scans for both Cohen and Trump. On December 19, 2015, Sater emailed and sent a text message to Cohen requesting that Cohen call him because he had, quote, "Evgeny on the other line," close quote. Sater told the committee in his interview prior to the release of the SCO report that his references to Evgeny were, to his recollection, Evgeny Shmykov. According to the SCO, however, Sater's reference to Evgeny on the December 19th message was a reference to Evgeny Dvoskin, who at the time was associated with a Russian bank operating in Crimea. Through counsel, Sater later represented to the committee that he may have used both Shmykov and Dvoskin at varying times. As a result, while this particular outreach appears to involve Dvoskin, the identity behind Sater's other references to Evgeny remains unclear. Dvoskin is strongly connected to Russian organized crime and the Russian intelligence services, particularly the FSB. One full page redacted. In 2015, the Department of the Treasury's Office of Foreign Asset Control added GenBank to the Specially Designated Nationals, SDN, list as part of its Ukraine-related sanctions program. In his December 19, 2015 messages to Cohen, Sater explained that the meetings in Moscow he was working to set up related to the Trump project should not appear overtly political, but the meetings would be with Putin and other Kremlin insiders. Quote, "Invitations and visas will be issued this week by VTB Bank to discuss financing for Trump Tower Moscow. Politically, neither Putin's office nor Ministry of Foreign Affairs cannot issue the invite, so they are inviting commercially business. VTB is Russia's second biggest bank, and VT Bank CEO Andrei Kostin will be at all meetings with Putin, so that it is a business meeting, not political. We will be invited to Russian consulate this week to receive invite and have visa issued," close quote. Later that day, Cohen sent Sater images of every page of his passport. Once Cohen sent the photos of his passport, Sater recalled that he sent the images on to Evgeny, along with a copy of his own passport, in order to apply for a visa to Russia. Soon thereafter, Sater told Cohen that, quote, "they needed a copy of Trump's passport," close quote. Cohen responded by telling Sater that sending Trump's passport was, quote, "premature," close quote, and that he would do so only after his own successful trip to Moscow and the setting of a specific date for the meeting between Trump and Putin. On December 29, 2015, Cohen sent a message to Sater asking if there was any response, quote, "from Russia," close quote. Sater responded that, quote, "they," close quote, would be sending invitations, which Sater anticipated would arrive after the New Year's holiday. When the invitations didn't immediately arrive, Cohen became agitated with Sater. The following day, December 30th, Cohen told Sater that he had lost the deal and that Cohen would be contacting his, quote, "alternate," close quote, presumably a reference to Riskelids. Cohen expressed his frustrations over the pace of the deal and his disappointment that Sater couldn't deliver on his promise on an, quote, "invitation from a banker," close quote. Cohen's messages to Sater reveal one potential cause for Cohen's sense of urgency: Cohen's efforts to please Trump. Cohen told Sater that he was going to terminate the LOI and cease working with Sater, telling Sater that, quote, "not you or anyone you know will embarrass me in front of Mr. T when he asks me what is happening," close quote. Sater, for his part, claimed that he had kept his, quote, "mouth shut for you and your team," close quote, despite negative press articles written about him personally. Further, Sater told Cohen that he had, quote, "played my hand with people I make money with," and you telling me scrap it. Really upsetting. Really." Close quote. Sater told the committee that he called Schmeikoff to find a solution. Sater recalled telling Schmeikoff that Cohen was, quote, "freaking out," close quote, and that as a result, Sater, quote, "needed an invitation," close quote. By the morning of December 31st, Sater had produced a letter on GenBank letterhead purporting to be an invitation for Cohen to come to Russia. According to Sater, these efforts with Schmeikoff resulted in the GenBank letter being generated quickly, even though it was the holiday period. Schmeikoff told Sater that the letter was a, quote, "placeholder," close quote. At the time, Sater told Cohen that the letter had been sent, quote, 3 days ago but went to my spam, close quote, even though in reality, the letter had just been produced. Narrator's note: there is a photograph of this letter with the report, but the quality of the reproduction of the letter makes the words illegible. Sater's recollection of Schmeikoff's involvement in this letter may not be accurate. As described infra, Sater repeatedly recalled in his interview with the committee that Evgeny Schmeikoff was involved in his outreach on the Trump-Moscow project. Sater later admitted to the committee that he may have also contacted Evgeny Dvoskin, and the SCO determined on the basis of call records that Dvoskin was, in fact, the individual involved in the outreach at that time. Dvoskin himself is an owner and executive at GenBank, which suggests he was involved in the production of this letter. At the same time that he sent the GenBank letter to Cohen, Sater told Cohen that the planned meetings would be held with senior Russian government officials. Sater claimed that the invitation was, quote, "through Putin's administration, and nothing gets done there without approval from the top," close quote. Sater further said that the planned meeting in Moscow with Cohen would be to discuss, quote, "goals, meeting agendas, and meeting time between Putin and Trump," close quote, with, quote, "ministers," in U.S. that's cabinet level, and with Putin's top administration people, close quote, which, quote, "most likely will include," close quote, Dmitry Peskov. Sater later explained to the committee that Emin Iskenderov, a Russian developer known for his efforts to develop a multi-billion-dollar project in Paris, quote, had access, quote, to Peskov. As a result, Sater believed he had the ability to arrange a meeting between Peskov and Cohen. Cohen questioned Sater as to why the letter had come from GenBank and not from VT Bank, telling Sater that he thought Sater was, quote, "speaking to VTB," close quote. Sater explained that GenBank was, quote, "owned 50% by government and is run as a junior for VTB," close quote. Sater further explained that the VT Bank chairman was away until January 11th, and this letter was sent in an effort to obtain a letter before his return. Cohen again became agitated with Sater, complaining that the invite didn't come from VTB Bank directly and was written by, quote, "some no-name clerk at a third-tier bank," close quote. Cohen explained to the committee, quote, "each conversation I had with Sater, he keeps touting VTB Bank, VTB Bank, VTB Bank. And then all of a sudden, you get this bank," close quote. Cohen told Sater to stop working on the project, stating that Cohen would, quote, "handle this myself," close quote. Cohen's outreach to the Kremlin to advance the project. On January 11, 2016, Cohen emailed Peskov's office at pr_peskova@prpress.gov.ru, a typographic error that apparently caused the email to not be delivered. It is unclear how Cohen acquired this email address. In the request, Cohen asked to speak with Sergei Ivanov, Putin's chief of staff. The following day, a media contact of Cohen's emailed him a phone number for Peskov's office. Cohen told the committee that he conducted an internet search for Peskov's office and obtained the email address info@prpress.gov.ru. Cohen emailed the below request addressed to Peskov, quote, "Dear Mr. Peskov, over the past few months, I have been working with a company based in Russia regarding the development of a Trump Tower Moscow project in Moscow City. Without getting into lengthy specifics, the communication between our two sides has stalled. As this project is too important, I am hereby requesting your assistance. I respectfully request someone, preferably you, contact me so that I might discuss the specifics as well as arranging meetings with the appropriate individuals. I thank you in advance for your assistance and look forward to hearing from you soon." Close quote. Peskov is a high-level Kremlin insider and a key advisor to Putin. 2 days later, on January 16, 2016, Cohen also emailed the corrected email address from his initial request, pr_peskova@prpress.gov.ru, with a request to speak with Ivanov. Cohen did not initially produce either email to the pr_Peskova email account to the committee, nor did he acknowledge their existence. Cohen also initially testified, falsely, that there was no reply to his email to the info@prpress.gov.ru account. However, Cohen would later admit that several days after his initial email, on January 20, 2016, he received a response from Elena Polyakova, Peskov's chief of staff. In the email, which was written from her personal account, Polyakova said that she had been trying to get in touch with Cohen and requested that Cohen contact her at a phone number which she provided. Polyakova, in her role as Peskov's chief of staff, has exceptional access within the Kremlin. After receiving the email from Polyakova, Cohen recalled dialing the number Polyakova provided him and speaking with Polyakova for approximately 20 minutes. During the call, Cohen recalled discussing the Trump-Moscow project with Polyakova. Cohen described Polyakova as, quote, extremely professional, close quote, and, quote, very detailed in her questions regarding the project, close quote. Specifically, Cohen recalled Polyakova asking about the property, including the area, size, and square footage. Cohen did not have a specific memory of speaking with Polyakova about other details of the project, such as a proposed friendship square, but presumed he did so. Cohen stated that Polyakova had, quote, really done her homework, close quote, and while Cohen was not certain, his recollection was that, at the time of the call, Polyakova already, quote, knew about IC Expert, Rozov's development company, and she knew about the deal, close quote. Cohen recalled that Polyakova stated that she would assemble notes on the information Cohen relayed and, quote, pass them along, close quote, which Cohen understood to mean pass the notes on to Peskov or someone else in the Russian government who would handle the project. Polyakova told Cohen that they would be in touch with Cohen or with IC Expert. On January 21, 2016, the day after the phone call with Peskov's assistant Polyakova, Sater contacted Cohen via telephone call and text message. Sater told Cohen that he needed to speak with him about an, quote, important, close quote, matter, stating, quote, it's about Putin, they called today, close quote. Sater later recalled that this reference to Putin was not a specific reference to any outreach directly from Putin's inner circle. Sater left open the possibility that his comments were prompted by some other event or indirect outreach, stating that he did not, quote, really remember what triggered it, whether it was a call from Emin Iskenderov, Evgeny Shmykov or Zvoskin, Andrei Rozov, whoever, close quote. Cohen, however, linked Sater's renewed outreach to the call with Peskov's aide. Cohen recalled that at the time, Sater gave him the impression that a Russian government person reached out to Sater. Cohen thought the phone call with Polyakova had an effect. Later that day, Sater and Cohen exchanged a number of calls and texts. They discussed a draft invitation for Cohen to come to Moscow. Sater asked Cohen to review the draft invitation letter and, quote, make whatever changes you want. Try to take a look tonight. I want to get it to them so they have it for the morning, close quote. Later that evening, Cohen and Sater exchanged drafts of the invitation letter, which included the following draft text, quote, in furtherance of our previous conversations regarding the development of the Trump Tower Moscow project, we would like to respectfully invite you to Moscow for a working visit. During this historic meeting, we wish to discuss further the needs to create this 5-star, one-of-a-kind, and world-class project. Your visit will help to acquaint you with Moscow through, quote, roundtable discussions, close quote, devoted to analysis and the prospects of development and the construction business in Russia. While in Moscow, we intend to visit and discuss with you the various land plots available suited for construction of this enormous tower, as well as to give you the opportunity to coordinate a follow-up visit to Moscow by Mr. Donald Trump. Close quote. Several days later, on January 25, 2016, Sater sent a signed letter from an individual named Andrei Ryabinsky on letterhead from a Russian company called MHJ. Sater claimed that this was, quote, another group from Evgeny, close quote. Sater stated that Evgeny was, quote, excited about it and he was speaking to various other people, close quote. The text of the letter was identical to that of the last draft of the request edited by Cohen several days earlier. Minutes after Sater sent the letter to Cohen, Sater sent a follow-up email to Cohen asking for travel dates for Cohen and Trump because Sater had received, quote, another call this morning asking for it, close quote. Cohen responded, quote, will do, close quote. At some point shortly after Cohen's call with Peskov's assistant, Cohen told Trump about the call. Cohen recalled telling Trump that he had spoken with, quote, someone from the Kremlin, close quote, about the Trump Tower Moscow project. Cohen also recalled making a comment to Trump about the assistant's professionalism, adding that he wished some of the Trump organization's assistants, quote, would be this prepared, close quote. Cohen recalled that at some point in this approximate time period, he also discussed the possibility of traveling to Russia with Trump. Cohen recalled that Trump did not express concerns about traveling to Russia while a presidential candidate if it would aid the deal. According to Cohen, Trump instructed Cohen to speak with then campaign manager Corey Lewandowski about dates for potential travel to Russia. Cohen recalled speaking with Lewandowski shortly thereafter. Cohen also requested a copy of Trump's passport from Trump's primary assistant, Rona Graff. Cohen recalled Graff bringing him Trump's passport, but no records or testimony obtained by the committee indicate that Trump's passport was ever transmitted to Sater. After speaking with Lewandowski, Cohen recalled receiving proposed dates for the trip to Russia. As noted below, text messages between Sater and Cohen on January 26, 2016, suggest that Cohen had already provided Trump proposed travel dates by that time. On January 26, 2016, Sater asked Cohen if he would speak directly on the phone, quote, with the guy coordinating to arrange all the calls so you can speak first person to everyone, close quote. Cohen replied, quote, now, close quote, to which Sater responded, quote, okay, 2 minutes, close quote. It is unknown if a call took place, although later that day, Sater sent a text to Cohen about the Russia travel plans. Quote, I think you should make it a bit more flexible for yourself. First week of Feb is this Monday. Since you gave DT dates, you can do any time that's good for you in February or March. Completely your call. Either way, it's set. They are waiting and will walk you into every office you need to make sure you are comfortable for a DT trip. Close quote. Cohen recalled that he and Sater continued to have, quote, many, close quote, conversations, and that he had pressed Sater to identify a property for the project. Sater recalled that there was a, quote, lull, close quote, in the project, with less activity, but Sater was unable to explain why this occurred. Revitalized efforts in 2016. Later that spring, however, Cohen and Sater resumed their activity around the project and the possibility of traveling to Russia. On April 20, 2016, Sater texted Cohen that, quote, the people wanted to know when we are coming, close quote. Cohen responded, quote, I need to talk to you, close quote. Several days later, Sater sent a text to Cohen describing an additional conversation, quote, with Moscow, close quote. Quote, I had a chat with Moscow. Assuming, uppercase, the trip does happen, the question is before or after the convention. I said I believe, but don't know for sure that it's probably after the convention. Obviously, the pre-meeting trip you only can happen anytime you want, but the two big guys were sick to question. I said I would confirm and revert. I explained that only, uppercase, you will be negotiating all the details. I want to make sure no one tries to go around us. That's why I said that. Michael, it's completely in your hands. Probably a quick trip by you would be the perfect move. That locks it in, and no one else can elbow in at that point. Let me know about if I was right by saying I believe after Cleveland, and also when you want to speak to them and possibly fly over." Close quote. Cohen responded to Sater stating, quote, "My trip before Cleveland. Trump once he becomes the nominee after the convention." Close quote. Sater responded that he was, quote, "on it." Close quote. Sater told the committee that he, quote, "absolutely," close quote, understood that the Moscow project was still active at this time. According to Sater, he and Cohen had agreed that Cohen would travel with Sater to Russia first, and that, quote, right on the heels, close quote, of their trip, Trump would travel to Russia. The following day, May 5, 2016, Sater again messaged Cohen. In his message, Sater indicated that Peskov wanted to invite Cohen to attend a high-profile economic forum in Russia called the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, SPIEF. Quote, "Peskov would like to invite you as his guest to the St. Petersburg Forum, which is Russia's Davos. It's June 16 to 19. He wants to meet there with you and possibly introduce you to either Putin or Medvedev, as they are not sure if one or both will be there. This is perfect. The entire business class of Russia will be there as well. He said anything you want to discuss, including dates and subjects, are on the table to discuss." Close quote. Sater recalled that at some point he and, quote, Evgeny, close quote, had discussed the matter and decided that it was best to make the visit more about business and appear less political. As a result, Sater and Evgeny worked to arrange an invitation for Cohen to SPIEF. SPIEF, according to its website, has been held since 2006, quote, under the auspices of the President of the Russian Federation, who has attended each event, close quote. Cohen responded to Sater the following day, stating, quote, "works for me," close quote. Sater later explained to the committee that he believed Peskov was the, quote, perfect, close quote, fit with whom to work on the project, because Sater wanted to have a large media event and ribbon cutting, and that Peskov, as press secretary, would be the best Kremlin insider to work with. Sater claimed he had had discussions with Evgeny to this effect. Sater recalled Evgeny telling him that, quote, "of course we'll get Dmitry Peskov," close quote. Sater responded to Cohen, describing his rationale for why Cohen should attend SPIEF. "Not only will you probably sit with number one or number two, but the whole biz community is there. I'll be running around setting nice $100 million deals," smiling emoji. "And you will come back and the whole campaign team can kiss your ass. Keep this very, very close to the vest. Otherwise, half a dozen idiots will try to jump on your coattails. If it goes great, you are a hero. If it doesn't, all you did was go to an economic forum to check out the business. Bro, this is why you got me working in the shadows. I will make sure you are clean as a whistle either way. For you, zero downside. But I know this is going to turn into 1. A major win for Trump, makes you the hero who bagged the elephant, and 2. Sets up a stream of business opportunities that will be mind-blowing, all from one short trip. I couldn't have dreamed of a better situation with no downside." Close quote. In early June 2016, Cohen and Sater continued discussing plans for attending SPIEF. In a June 9, 2016 text message, Sater relayed to Cohen that he was filling out paperwork for their badges for the conference and that Cohen should receive an email invite soon. Sater told Cohen that, quote, "Putin is there on the 17th, very strong chance you will meet him as well," close quote. Sater later explained to the committee that his offer to Cohen related to high-level meetings, including potentially with Putin, were real and attainable. Sater believed he could, in fact, obtain a very high-level meeting for Cohen or Trump if either traveled to Russia. On June 13, 2016, Sater forwarded Cohen a formal electronic invitation to SPIEF addressed to Cohen, along with login instructions to access information about the conference. Sater also forwarded a blank Russian visa application form to Cohen. Sater had separately reached out to a SPIEF official in charge of, quote, official delegations, close quote, to request assistance to expedite his and Cohen's visas. In response, Sater was sent letters asking that he and Cohen be provided visas to attend SPIEF. Sater was told that obtaining the visas should only take 1 day. Deal efforts cease. Text messages from Sater to Cohen suggested that, as of the morning of June 14, 2016, Sater continued to believe that Cohen would be traveling to Russia with him and continued to ask Cohen to respond to him regarding visas. Messages and testimony from both Sater and Cohen indicate that on the afternoon of June 14, 2016, Cohen and Sater met in the atrium of Trump Tower in New York. Neither Cohen nor Sater claimed to have a specific memory of the June 14, 2016 meeting in the Trump Tower atrium. Sater claimed that he and Cohen possibly discussed the Trump Tower Moscow deal and what the next steps would be, but he didn't have a clear recollection. Sater recalled that Cohen backed out of the trip after he received his invite to SPIEF and after the passport photos were filed with Evgeny, but could not recall with certainty when this occurred. Sater recalled, quote, Cohen turned around and said, I can't go. At the last minute, he said, I can't go. Let's wait until after Cleveland, close quote. Cohen also did not recall the specifics of the June 14, 2016 meeting, but similarly recalled that he decided not to go to Russia at the last minute. Cohen recalled deciding not to go because he felt the invitation did not come from the highest level in Moscow. Quote, according to Felix, I was supposed to be receiving the invite from, again, I forget who, but it was somebody of tremendous significance in this. Again, it was plane tickets and the hotel and meetings and everything. And next thing I received from Mr. Sater is a hyperlink to the application. To log on, put in your credit card in order to go to the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, close quote. Through at least June 2016, Cohen said that Trump viewed the Moscow project the same way Cohen did, as an, quote, opportunity that was active, close quote. Cohen came to this understanding because Trump would, on a, quote, regular basis, close quote, ask Cohen about the status of the Russia project. Cohen recalled, in other words, Mr. Trump is out there on the rally, in the public, stating there's no Russia collusion, there's no involvement, there's no deals, there's no connection. And yet the following day, as we're walking to his car, he's asking me, how things going with Russia, close quote. Cohen understood that Trump was, quote, interested in the project, close quote, and recalled that he had spoken to Trump, quote, 10 or 12, close quote, times during the course of the negotiations, which lasted from September 2015 to at least until June 2016. After the Republican National Convention in July 2016, Sater stated that it became obvious that there was, quote, just no way that a presidential candidate could build a tower in a foreign country, close quote. As a result, efforts on the project ceased.